Dr. Hana Kim stood in the main ceremony hall of the Dawn Explorer, adjusting her translator device one final time. The massive room had been decorated with both human and alien symbols of peace. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling, and tables filled with various foods from both cultures lined the walls. Today would mark the first official meeting between humanity and the Vorthak Empire. She looked around nervously. This was the moment she had trained for her entire life. As Earth's leading xenobiologist, she understood alien cultures better than anyone else on the ship. But understanding something from books was very different from facing it in real life. "Are you ready, Doctor?" Captain Dong-Su asked as he approached. His uniform was perfectly pressed, and his face showed the calm confidence that made him such a respected leader. "As ready as anyone can be for something that has never happened before," Hana replied with a small smile. She touched the peace medallion hanging around her neck, a gift from her grandmother. It was supposed to bring good luck. The ship's communication system crackled to life. "Captain, the Vorthak vessel is requesting permission to board," came the voice of Communications Officer Jin Ho. "Permission granted. Send them to Ceremony Hall A," Dong-Su responded. He turned to Hana. "Remember, they are much larger than us. Their culture values physical strength above almost everything else. But they have agreed to this peaceful meeting." Hana nodded. She had studied the Vorthak for months. They were impressive creatures, standing nearly 8 feet tall with thick muscular bodies covered in dark scales. Their hands ended in sharp claws and their teeth were designed for tearing meat. Everything about them screamed predator. The massive doors at the far end of the hall opened with a soft hiss. The Vorthak delegation entered in single file. Their leader, Commander Thek, walked at the front. His scales were darker than the others, almost black, and scars covered his arms and chest. Each scar, according to Hana's research, represented a victory in combat. Behind him came 5 other Vorthak warriors, each one massive and intimidating. They wore simple clothing that showed off their muscled bodies and battle scars. Their yellow eyes scanned the room constantly, looking for threats or weaknesses. "Welcome to the Dawn Explorer," Captain Dong-Su said formally. The translator devices converted his words into the clicking and growling sounds of the Vorthak language. Commander Thek stepped forward. When he spoke, his voice was deep and rough like grinding stone. "We come to see if humans are worthy of speaking with the Vorthak Empire." The ceremony began according to plan. Both sides exchanged gifts. The humans offered advanced medical technology and artistic works. The Vorthak gave weapons and hunting trophies. Each group explained their culture and history. Hana found herself relaxing slightly. The Vorthak seemed genuinely interested in human achievements. They asked detailed questions about human medicine, engineering, and exploration. Commander Thek even seemed impressed when she explained how humans had traveled from Earth to this distant star system. "Your species is clever," Commander Thek admitted. "You build good tools. But tools do not make a species strong. Only strength makes a species strong. Humans believe that intelligence and cooperation make us strong," Hana replied carefully. "We work together to solve problems that no single person could handle alone." The other Vorthak made sounds that the translator identified as laughter. But it was not friendly laughter. It was the kind of laugh that predators made when they saw weak prey trying to act brave. "Intelligence is useful," Commander Thek said, standing up from his chair. "But when danger comes, only the strong survive. Let me show you what I mean." Before anyone could react, Commander Thek moved with surprising speed. His massive hand clamped down on Hana's shoulder like a steel trap. His claws dug through her shirt and into her skin. The pressure was enormous, like being grabbed by a machine. Pain shot through Hana's body. She could feel her bones grinding together under the alien's grip. This was not part of the ceremony. This was an attack. But Hana Kim had not become Earth's top xenobiologist by being weak or helpless. She had grown up in a rough neighborhood where children learned to fight or learn to suffer. She had studied martial arts since she was 6 years old. She had trained with Earth's military to prepare for exactly this kind of situation. The pain and shock lasted only a split second. Then her training took over. Hana's body moved before her mind could even process what was happening. She pivoted on her left foot, using Commander Thek's grip on her shoulder as an anchor point. Her right elbow came up fast and hard, aimed at the weak point where the alien's thick neck met his massive shoulder. The impact was perfect. Her elbow struck exactly where the Vorthak collarbone connected to his shoulder joint. There was a loud crack that echoed through the entire ceremony hall. Commander Thek's grip vanished instantly. The huge alien staggered backward, his yellow eyes wide with shock and pain. He clutched his shoulder and let out a sound that was part roar, part whimper. Dark blue blood seeped between his clawed fingers. The other Vorthak warriors froze in complete silence. Their mouths hung open, showing rows of sharp teeth. They stared at Hana like she had just performed magic. Hana stepped back into a defensive position, her hands ready to block or strike again. Her shoulder throbbed where the alien's claws had pierced her skin, but she ignored the pain. Her eyes never left Commander Thek. "I believe," she said calmly, "that your demonstration is over." Commander Thek tried to straighten up, but his broken collarbone made him gasp with pain. He looked at Hana with something that might have been respect or might have been fear. "How?" he managed to ask through gritted teeth. "Humans may not be the strongest species in the galaxy," Hana replied, "but we are very good at fighting back." Captain Dong-Su and the other human crew members had drawn their weapons, but the Vorthak showed no signs of continuing the attack. They were too busy staring at their injured leader and the small human woman who had hurt him. The ceremony hall, which had been filled with hopes for peaceful contact between two species, now felt like a battleground where everything had changed in a single moment. And in that moment, humanity had announced to the galaxy that they were not prey. Security Chief Tae-Soo burst through the ceremony hall doors with 6 armed guards behind him. His weapon was drawn and ready, but he stopped short when he saw the scene before him. Commander Thek was on his knees, clutching his shoulder and making low groaning sounds. The other Vorthak warriors stood perfectly still, their yellow eyes fixed on Dr. Hana Kim. "What happened here?" Tae-Soo demanded, his weapon still pointed at the aliens. "Stand down," Captain Dong-Su ordered quietly. "The situation is under control." Hana kept her defensive stance but spoke calmly to the Vorthak medic who was approaching Commander Thek. "The break is clean. The bone snapped right at the joint connection. Your commander will heal, but he needs medical attention now." The Vorthak medic, a smaller alien with lighter scales, looked between Hana and his injured leader. "How do you know about Vorthak bone structure?" he asked through the translator. "I studied your people for months before this meeting," Hana replied. "I know where your bones connect and how much pressure they can take before breaking. Your collarbone can handle about 400 pounds of pressure. My elbow strike delivered approximately 600 pounds in a focused point." The medic's eyes widened. He began treating Commander Thek while muttering in his own language. The translator picked up fragments: impossible, prey species, and predator knowledge. Captain Dong-Su moved slowly toward the Vorthak delegation. "Commander Thek, why did you attack Dr. Kim?" Commander Thek looked up from where he knelt. Pain and confusion mixed in his yellow eyes. It was not an attack. It was a test. In Vorthak culture, we established dominance through strength. I wanted to see how humans respond to pressure. "And now you know," Hana said simply. One of the other Vorthak warriors stepped forward. His name was Subcommander Vek, and he was almost as large as Thek. "In our empire, only the strongest predators can counter such a move. Most species we meet either submit or run away. None have ever fought back so quickly." Engineering Officer Borelli's voice came through the communication system. "Captain, we have a problem. The Vorthak fleet is moving into a defensive formation around our ship. Their weapons are charging." Captain Dong-Su touched his communication device. "Are they targeting us?" "No, sir. They appear to be protecting themselves, like they think we might attack them." Tae-Soo lowered his weapon slightly but kept it ready. "They're afraid of us." Commander Thek struggled to his feet with help from the medic. His injured arm hung at an odd angle, but his eyes were sharp and focused. "Not afraid, cautious. We have never met a species like yours before." "What do you mean?" Hana asked. Subcommander Vek answered. "In the galaxy, there are 2 types of beings. Predators and prey. Predators hunt and dominate. Prey hide and run. But your species confuses us. You look like prey, but you fight like apex predators." Communications Officer Jin Ho's voice crackled through the speakers. "Captain, we're receiving emergency transmissions from the Vorthak homeworld. They want immediate reports on human combat capabilities." Dr. Hana Kim wiped a small amount of blood from her shoulder, where Commander Thek's claws had pierced her skin. The wounds were shallow but painful. "I need to explain something to all of you. What I did was not special. Any human with basic self-defense training could have done the same thing." The Vorthak warriors exchanged glances that clearly showed disbelief. "You are lying." Sub-Commander Vec said flatly. That move required perfect timing, precise knowledge of anatomy, and the willingness to escalate to violence instantly. Only trained killers possess such skills? No, Hana replied patiently. On Earth, millions of humans learn martial arts as a hobby. Children practice self-defense in school. Adults take classes for exercise and fun. We study anatomy because we are curious about how bodies work. Fighting is not just for warriors in human society. It is for everyone. Commander Thek made a sound that might have been laughter, but it was filled with pain. You expect us to believe that your entire species trains for combat as entertainment? Captain Dongsu nodded. Dr. Kim is telling the truth. I personally know dozens of crew members on this ship who could have responded the same way she did. The Vorthak medic finished treating Commander Thek's collarbone. The bone is set, but you cannot use that arm for many days. It does not matter, Commander Thek said. I have learned what I needed to know. Which is what? Taisu asked, still suspicious of the aliens' intentions. Humans are not prey, Commander Thek replied, but they are not predators like us either. They are something new, something dangerous. Through the communication system, Jin Ho reported more developments. Captain, other alien species are intercepting our communications with the Vorthak. Word is spreading through the galactic networks about what happened here. What are they saying? Captain Dongsu asked. The translations are rough, but the general message seems to be that humans have unknown combat capabilities. Some species are expressing concern about making contact with us. Hana sank into a nearby chair, suddenly feeling very tired. This was supposed to be a peaceful first contact mission. We were going to trade technology and establish friendly relations. Plans change, Commander Thek said. His voice was weaker now, but still determined. Your species has shown that you will not submit to stronger beings. In the galaxy, that makes you either valuable allies or dangerous enemies. Which do you think we are? Captain Dongsu asked. Commander Thek looked at Hana with what might have been respect. That remains to be seen. But I will tell my people this. Humans should never be underestimated. The ceremony hall fell silent except for the soft hum of the ship's systems. Outside, 2 fleets of ships maintained their careful distance from each other. Both sides were now uncertain about what would happen next. But one thing was clear. The galaxy would never look at humanity the same way again. High Commander Zeth stood in the war room of the Vorthak capital ship. The massive vessel hung in space like a metal moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire planets. Around him, his top military advisors studied the footage that had just arrived from the first contact mission. Play it again, Zeth commanded. The holographic display showed the ceremony hall once more. They watched as Commander Thek grabbed the small human female. They watched her pivot and strike. They watched their strongest warrior fall to his knees with a broken bone. Military strategist Velkar paused the recording at the moment of impact. The movement took exactly 1.3 seconds from grab to strike. The human female showed no hesitation, no fear, no surprise. She moved like she had practiced this exact scenario thousands of times. Impossible, growled General Keth. No prey species develop such reflexes. It goes against all natural law. Then perhaps, High Commander Zeth said slowly, humans are not a prey species. Meanwhile, aboard the Dawn Explorer, Communications Officer Jin Ho was having the worst day of his career. His console lit up with incoming messages from dozens of different alien civilizations. Each one wanted to know the same thing. Were humans dangerous? Captain, Jin Ho called out. The Altari Republic is demanding immediate information about human military capabilities. The Seeking Federation is asking if we pose a threat to peaceful species, and the Merchant Guild wants to know if it's safe to trade with us. Captain Dongsu rubbed his temples. A simple diplomatic mission had turned into a galactic crisis. What are you telling them? The truth. That we came here in peace and only defended ourselves when attacked. Are they believing it? Jin Ho looked at his console again. 3 more urgent messages had just arrived. Not really. Dr. Hana Kim sat in the medical bay while the ship's doctor treated her shoulder wounds. The cuts were not deep, but they needed to be cleaned and bandaged. She tried to ignore the pain and focus on the bigger picture. How bad is it out there? She asked Captain Dongsu as he entered the medical bay. Bad. The Vorthak fleet is still in defensive position. They're sending constant updates to their homeworld about our combat capabilities. And every other species in this part of the galaxy is now watching us very carefully. I'm sorry, Hana said quietly. I just reacted. I didn't think about the consequences. Don't apologize for defending yourself, the captain replied firmly. You did nothing wrong. But we need to figure out how to fix this situation. Back on the Vorthak command ship, High Commander Zeth was reviewing detailed analysis of the human attack. The ship's computers had broken down every movement, every muscle tension, every angle of the strike. What does the analysis tell us? Zeth asked. Strategist Velkar pulled up a complex diagram. The human used a technique that requires extensive training. The pivot point, the angle of the elbow strike, the targeting of the specific bone joint. All of this suggests professional combat education. So the human is a warrior? That's what is strange, Velkar replied. According to their own transmissions, she is a scientist, a researcher who studies alien life forms, yet she fights like our best soldiers. General Keth leaned forward. It could be a deception. Maybe all humans are secretly warriors pretending to be peaceful. Or, said Velkar thoughtfully, maybe their entire species is naturally equipped for combat. On the Dawn Explorer, Engineering Officer Bora Lee was monitoring the Vorthak fleet's movements from her station. The alien ships had formed a perfect defensive sphere around the human vessel, but they made no aggressive moves. They were waiting. Captain, Bora reported, the Vorthak ships are running continuous scans on our vessel. They're trying to determine our weapons capacity and crew size. Are they finding anything concerning? That depends on what you consider concerning. They've identified our defensive weapons, our crew complement, and our basic ship structure, but I don't think they understand what they're looking at. What do you mean? Bora turned from her console. Human ships are built differently than theirs. We design everything with multiple backup systems and emergency options. We plan for worst-case scenarios. To them, this probably looks like we're preparing for war. In the ceremony hall, Commander Thek sat with his arm in a support device created by the human medical team. Despite his injury, he was studying the humans around him with intense interest. Sub-Commander Vek approached him carefully. Commander, the High Command wants your personal assessment of human combat potential. Tell them this, Commander Thek said, his voice still rough with pain. The female who broke my bone was not their strongest warrior. She was their scientist. If their scientists fight like apex predators, what must their actual warriors be like? You think they have better fighters than her? I am certain of it. Did you see how the other humans reacted when their security chief arrived? They moved into formation without being ordered. They covered all the exits and created overlapping fields of fire. These are not the actions of a peaceful species. Dr. Hana Kim returned to the ceremony hall to check on Commander Thek's condition. As a xenobiologist, she felt responsible for his injury, even though he had attacked her first. How are you feeling? She asked through the translator. I have felt better, Commander Thek admitted, but I have also learned much, such as, your species is not what it appears to be. You look small and weak, but you are neither. You speak of peace, but you are ready for war. This confuses my people. Hana sat down across from him. We don't want war. We never wanted war, but we learned long ago that sometimes violence finds you whether you want it or not. So we prepare for it. All of your people? Most of them. Children learn to defend themselves. Adults train to protect others. Soldiers train to protect everyone. It is simply part of being human. Commander Thek was quiet for a long moment. On every world the Vorthak have conquered, we found species that were either natural hunters or natural prey. Hunters fought us and usually lost. Prey submitted to us and became servants. But humans, what about humans? You are both hunter and prey. You have the mind of prey. Cautious, clever, always planning for danger. But you have the reflexes of a hunter. Fast, violent, deadly when threatened. This combination should not exist. Through the ship's communication system, Jinho's voice announced another development. Captain, we're receiving a priority message from Earth Command. They want a full report on the first contact mission. Hana and Commander Thek looked at each other. Both knew that whatever happened next would determine the future of human-alien relations in the galaxy. What will you tell your people about us? Hana asked. Commander Thek flexed his good hand, testing the grip strength. I will tell them the truth. That humanity is unlike any species we have ever encountered, and that anyone who underestimates you will make the same mistake I did. Outside the ship, the two fleets maintained their careful distance, waiting to see what would happen next. 3 days after the broken collarbone incident, High Commander Zeth made a decision that would change everything. He called for a combat demonstration. If humans were truly as dangerous as Commander Thek claimed, then the Vorthak needed to know exactly what they were dealing with. The plan was simple but devious. The Vorthak would stage a pirate attack on a human cargo vessel. They would observe how humans responded to a real threat. Of course, the pirates would be Vorthak warriors in disguise, and they would be careful not to actually harm any humans. It was just a test. What the Vorthak did not know was that the cargo vessel they chose to target was the Steel Runner, commanded by Captain Wu Jin. The ship carried mining equipment and basic supplies, but it also carried something the Vorthak had not detected. A full squad of human combat specialists returning from a training mission. Navigator Su Kyung was on duty when the pirate ships appeared on her sensors. The three vessels dropped out of hyperspace and immediately began jamming communications. It looked like a standard pirate raid. Captain Wu Jin to the bridge, she announced over the ship's intercom. "We have hostile contacts." Captain Wu Jin arrived within seconds, his military training evident in every movement. He was a compact man with graying hair and scars on his hands from years of combat experience. He took one look at the sensor readings and smiled grimly. "How many ships?" he asked. "3 vessels, medium size. They're demanding we prepare to be boarded," Su Kyung reported. "Any response to our distress calls? All communications are being jammed." Captain Wu Jin activated the ship's internal communication system. "All hands, this is the captain. We are being attacked by pirates. Combat Team Alpha, report to positions. All other crew members, secure yourselves in protected areas. This is not a drill." The Vorthak observers, hidden among the distant stars, watched with interest as the small human cargo ship seemed to prepare for surrender. The vessel made no attempt to flee or fight back. This matched their expectations for a prey species. Combat Specialist Dae Ho was checking his weapons when the first pirate ship docked with the Steel Runner. He had fought in 3 different wars and survived battles that killed thousands of other soldiers. To him, 3 ships of pirates seemed like a minor inconvenience. "Remember," Captain Wu Jin told his combat team, "these are real enemies. They chose to attack our ship and threaten our crew. Show them why that was a mistake." The first group of disguised Vorthak warriors entered the cargo hold expecting to find terrified humans hiding behind boxes and equipment. Instead, they found Combat Specialist Dae Ho waiting for them with a smile. "Welcome to the Steel Runner," he said cheerfully. "I hope you're ready to leave quickly because your visit is about to become very unpleasant." The lead Vorthak warrior, still wearing his pirate disguise, raised his weapon. "Surrender now and you will not be harmed." "I have a better idea," Dae Ho replied. "You surrender now and I promise to leave you alive." The Vorthak warrior laughed at the small human's boldness. He was nearly 8 feet tall and armed with advanced weapons. The human looked tiny and harmless by comparison. That was his last mistake. Dae Ho moved like lightning. He rolled behind a cargo container as the Vorthak fired, then popped up with a projectile weapon that fired metal slugs at tremendous speed. His first shot took out the lead warrior's weapon. His second shot hit the alien in the leg, dropping him to the deck. The other Vorthak warriors tried to advance, but they found themselves trapped in a deadly crossfire. Combat Specialist Min-Su had positioned himself on the upper level of the cargo hold. Combat Specialist Yun-Ji attacked from their left flank. Each human moved with perfect coordination, like parts of a well-designed machine. "This is impossible," one of the Vorthak warriors gasped as he took cover behind a shipping container. "There are only 3 of them." "3 very angry humans," Dae Ho called out cheerfully. "And you just interrupted our vacation time." The battle lasted less than 5 minutes. When it was over, all 6 Vorthak pirates were either unconscious or wounded. Not a single human had been seriously injured. Captain Wu Jin surveyed the results with satisfaction. "Secure the prisoners. Check their ship for more hostiles." Navigator Su Kyung was monitoring the other pirate vessels. "Captain, the other 2 ships are moving to attack positions." "Let them come," Wu Jin replied. "We have surprises for them too." The second Vorthak ship tried a different approach. Instead of docking, they used cutting tools to breach the hull of the Steel Runner. They planned to storm through the breach and overwhelm the humans with superior numbers. They had not expected to find Combat Specialist Junki waiting for them with homemade explosives. The blast that greeted them as they entered the ship was not lethal, but it was definitely memorable. The concussion knocked 3 warriors unconscious and left the others dizzy and confused. Junki emerged from the smoke like a vengeful spirit. wielding two shock weapons that delivered stunning electrical charges. "Surprise," he shouted as he attacked. "Hope you enjoyed your entrance because the exit is going to be much less comfortable." The Vorthak observers watching from their hidden ships could not believe what they were seeing. A small cargo vessel with minimal weapons was defeating trained warriors through superior tactics, better coordination, and what could only be described as enthusiastic violence. "How is this possible?" strategist Velkar asked. "They are outnumbered 3-1, and their ship has no significant weapons." "They are using the ship itself as a weapon," High Commander Zeth replied grimly. "Every corridor is a trap. Every room is a killing ground. These humans know their own vessel better than we know our own bodies." The third and final pirate ship attempted to disable the steel runner by targeting its engines. This proved to be a serious error in judgment. Combat specialist Hai Sun was an explosives expert who had spent years learning how to destroy enemy equipment. When the Vorthak ship moved close enough to target the engines, she was ready with a surprise of her own. The mining charges that the steel runner carried for its normal operations made excellent improvised weapons. Hai Sun had rigged them to magnetic clamps that could attach to enemy ship hulls. When the third Vorthak vessel came within range, she launched a full spread of mining charges that clamped onto their ship like metallic limpets. "This is Captain Wu Jin of the cargo vessel Steel Runner," he broadcast to the remaining pirates. "You now have 30 seconds to surrender before I detonate the charges attached to your hull. I suggest you decide quickly." The Vorthak commander of the third ship looked at his sensors. His hull was covered with human explosives, each one powerful enough to crack his ship open like an egg. "We surrender," he transmitted quickly. "Excellent choice," Captain Wu Jin replied. "Now gather up your friends and get out of my space. And next time you see a human cargo ship, I suggest you find something else to do with your day." As the battered Vorthak ships limped away from their failed pirate raid, High Commander Zeth sat in stunned silence. His warriors had been defeated by a handful of humans on a cargo ship. The humans had turned a desperate defense into a complete victory, using nothing but standard equipment and superior tactics. "What do we tell the High Command?" Strategist Velkar asked quietly. "We tell them the truth," Zeth replied, "that we have underestimated the human species in every possible way." Navigator Su Kyung was documenting the entire engagement for her official report. "Captain, should I file this under pirate attack or alien contact?" Captain Wu Jin considered the question. "File it under Tuesday, because something tells me this kind of thing is going to become much more common." 2 weeks after the failed pirate raid, the galaxy was buzzing with rumors about humanity. Ambassador Hyun-sik stood in the diplomatic center aboard Earth's newest starbase, reading reports from across known space. Each report made the situation worse. "What's the current status?" Captain Dong-Su asked as he entered the room. He had been promoted to admiral after successfully handling the first contact crisis, but he still felt overwhelmed by the scope of the problem they faced. "Bad and getting worse," Hyun-sik replied, handing him a data tablet. "The Gentle Coalition is demanding that we prove we're not a threat to peaceful species. The Trading Federation has suspended all negotiations with human merchants, and the warrior clans are sending challenge requests to every human military unit they can find." Admiral Dong-Su read through the reports with growing concern. "What about our allies? The species that wanted to work with us before this started?" "That's the good news and the bad news rolled into one," Hyun-sik said. "The peaceful species that were interested in trading with us are now too afraid to make contact. But the species that were planning to conquer or exploit us have completely changed their plans." "Changed them how?" "They've decided we're too dangerous to fight and too valuable to ignore. So now they want to ally with us instead." Dr. Hana Kim entered the diplomatic center with her arm still in a support sling. Her shoulder had healed from Commander Thek's claws, but she wore the sling as a reminder of how quickly things could go wrong in first contact situations. "Any word from the medical conference?" Admiral Dong-Su asked her. "Cancelled," Hana replied with a frustrated sigh. The Healing Guild was very interested in human medical knowledge, but after the reports about our combat capabilities spread, they decided we might be too dangerous to work with, even for medical cooperation, especially for medical cooperation. They're afraid that if we understand alien biology well enough to heal it, we might also understand it well enough to harm it very effectively. Ambassador Hyun-sik pulled up a galactic communication network on his screen. Look at this. The news networks are calling it the human question. Every species in the galaxy is debating whether we're a threat to galactic peace. The screen showed news broadcasts in dozens of alien languages. The translation software could only handle fragments, but the general message was clear. Some species thought humans should be welcomed as valuable allies. Others thought they should be contained or avoided entirely. A few thought they should be eliminated before they became too powerful. "This is insane," Admiral Dong-Su said. "All of this started because Dr. Kim defended herself against an attack. Are we supposed to just let aliens hurt us?" "That's exactly the problem," Hana replied. "Most galactic species have clear roles. They're either predators who dominate others or prey who submit to stronger species. We don't fit into either category. So what are we? We're something new, something that confuses them." Communications Officer Jin Ho's voice came through the intercom system. "Admiral, we're receiving a priority message from the Seeker Alliance. They want to schedule a formal diplomatic meeting." "The Seekers?" Hyun-sik looked surprised. "They're one of the most advanced species in the galaxy. Very peaceful, very intellectual. Why would they want to meet with us now?" "Maybe they're not afraid of us," Admiral Dong-Su suggested hopefully. The message from the Seeker Alliance was brief and polite. They wanted to establish formal contact with humanity to discuss mutual areas of interest. The meeting would take place on a neutral space station in 1 month. "This could be our chance to fix things," Hyun-sik said. "If we can convince the Seekers that we're not a threat, other species might follow their lead." 3 days later, they received another message that changed everything. This one came from the Vorthak High Command. High Commander Zeth appeared on the communication screen, his scarred face serious, but not hostile. "Admiral Dong-Su, I request permission to speak with you about matters of mutual importance." "Permission granted," the Admiral replied cautiously. "The Vorthak Empire has reached a decision about humanity. We wish to propose an alliance." Everyone in the room stared at the screen in shock. Ambassador Hyun-sik recovered first. "What kind of alliance?" "A warrior's alliance," Zeth replied. "Our species are both apex predators. We respect strength, and you have proven your strength. Together we could bring order to the galaxy." "What do you mean by order?" Admiral Dong-Su asked carefully. "There are many species in the galaxy that prey upon the weak. Pirates, slavers, conquerors who attack peaceful worlds. The Vorthak have fought them for centuries, but we cannot be everywhere at once. With human tactical skills and Vorthak strength combined, we could protect those who cannot protect themselves." Dr. Hana Kim leaned forward. "You want us to be galactic police officers?" "We want you to be what you already are," Zeth replied. "Protectors who fight back when others cannot." The room fell silent as everyone considered the implications. An alliance with the Vorthak would solve many of their diplomatic problems, but it would also commit humanity to a military role in galactic affairs. "We need time to consider your offer," Admiral Dong-Su said finally. "Of course, but do not take too long. There are others who would prefer to see humanity eliminated, rather than allied with anyone." After the communication ended, the 3 humans sat in thoughtful silence. "Well," Ambassador Hyun-sik said eventually, "at least someone wants to work with us." "The question is whether we want to work with them," Hana replied. "An alliance with the Vorthak would make us players in galactic politics whether we want to be or not." Admiral Dong-Su stood up and walked to the window that showed the stars beyond the space station. "Maybe we don't have a choice anymore. The galaxy has already decided that we're dangerous. The only question now is whether we use that reputation to help people or let others use it against us." Communications Officer Jin Ho's voice interrupted their discussion. "Admiral, we're receiving multiple urgent messages from human colonies. Several have reported being approached by alien species offering protection agreements." "What kind of protection agreements?" "The kind where they protect our colonies from other aliens in exchange for human military advisors and combat training." Admiral Dong-Su sighed. The galaxy was adapting to humanity faster than humanity was adapting to the galaxy. Whether they liked it or not, humans were becoming a major force in galactic politics. "Get me a direct line to Earth Command," he ordered. "It's time to tell them that their peaceful exploration mission has turned into something much more complicated." Through the window, the stars looked the same as they always had. But Admiral Dong-Su knew that everything had changed. Humanity was no longer just another species trying to find its place in the galaxy. They had become the species that everyone else had to account for in their plans. 3 months after Dr. Hana Kim broke Commander Thek's collarbone, the galaxy had settled into a new and strange balance. The event that was supposed to be humanity's peaceful introduction to galactic civilization had instead become the moment that changed everything. Dr. Hana Kim stood in her new laboratory aboard the diplomatic station New Harmony. Her shoulder had healed completely, but she still flexed it occasionally, remembering that moment when everything changed. Outside her window, she could see ships from dozens of different species coming and going. All of them were here because of what happened in that ceremony hall. Still thinking about it, Admiral Dongsu asked as he entered the lab. Every day, Hana replied. I keep wondering what would have happened if I had just stood there and let him hurt me. Would things have been different? Maybe, but probably not better. Hana turned from the window to face him. How do you figure? Because then the galaxy would have learned that humans are easy victims, and that would have brought us a different kind of attention, the kind that ends with human colonies being enslaved or destroyed. The communication screen in the lab activated, showing Ambassador Yun-Sik calling from the diplomatic center. Dr. Kim, Admiral, we have the final reports from all the first contact missions. How many? Admiral Dongsu asked. 47 different species have now made formal contact with human representatives. Every single one included mandatory demonstrations of human combat capabilities. Hana laughed to spite herself. So breaking one alien's collarbone has become standard diplomatic procedure? Not breaking bones, Yun-Sik clarified. But every alien delegation now expects to see proof that humans can defend themselves. It's become part of the normal first contact process. The irony was not lost on any of them. Humanity's attempt at peaceful exploration had resulted in combat demonstrations becoming a required part of diplomacy. What about the Vorthak alliance? Admiral Dongsu asked. Officially signed yesterday, Hyun-Sik replied. High Commander Zeth says it's the first time in Vorthak history that they've allied with another predator species as equals. And the other species? How are they reacting? Mixed reactions. The peaceful species are mostly relieved that we're allied with the Vorthak instead of fighting them. The aggressive species are reconsidering their expansion plans now that they know they might face combined human and Vorthak forces. Dr. Hana Kim pulled up her research notes on her personal tablet. She had been studying the long-term effects of the first contact incident on galactic politics. I've been analyzing the data from all our diplomatic contacts. Want to know something interesting? Always, Admiral Dongsu replied. Before our first contact with the Vorthak, there were approximately 200 active conflicts happening across the galaxy. Wars, raids, territorial disputes, slavery operations. Guess how many there are now? I'm afraid to ask, 73. And most of those are winding down because nobody wants to risk attracting human attention. Admiral Dongsu stared at her in amazement. You're telling me that one broken collarbone reduced galactic violence by more than half? Indirectly, yes. The galaxy has realized that humans will fight back, and we're very good at it. So aggressive species are being much more careful about who they attack. Communications Officer Jin Ho's voice came through the intercom. Dr. Kim, you have a visitor requesting permission to come aboard. Who is it? Hana asked. Commander Thek. He says he has something important to discuss with you. Hana and Admiral Dongsu exchanged surprised looks. They had not heard from Commander Thek since the first contact incident 3 months ago. Send him to the main conference room, Admiral Dongsu decided. We'll meet him there. 20 minutes later, Commander Thek entered the conference room. His injured arm had healed, but Hana could see that he still favored it slightly. The massive Vorthak warrior looked around the room carefully before focusing his yellow eyes on Dr. Kim. Dr. Kim, he said formally, I have come to thank you. Thank me? Hana was genuinely confused. For breaking your collarbone? For teaching me something important about strength, Thek replied. In Vorthak culture, we believed that strength came only from size and power. You showed me that true strength comes from knowledge, preparation, and the willingness to act when necessary. I was just defending myself, Hana said. Yes, and in doing so, you changed how my entire species thinks about combat. Commander Thek moved closer, but his posture was respectful rather than threatening. After you broke my bone, I spent weeks studying human fighting techniques. What I learned amazed me. What did you learn? That humans do not fight to dominate others. You fight to protect yourselves and those you care about. This is why you are so effective. Every human warrior fights not just for victory but for survival. Admiral Dong-Su leaned forward with interest. And how has this changed Vorthak thinking? We have begun teaching our warriors to fight like humans, to use intelligence and preparation instead of relying only on strength. Our effectiveness in combat has improved by 40%. Dr. Hana Kim felt a strange mix of pride and concern. I'm glad we could help, but I hope you're using these techniques for defense, not conquest. That is the most important change, Commander Thek replied. The alliance with humanity has taught us that true warriors protect the innocent instead of preying upon them. We are no longer conquerors, we have become guardians. Through the conference room's communication system, they could hear Jin Ho announcing another development. All stations, we have incoming ships from the Trader Federation. They're requesting permission to establish a permanent commercial embassy. The traders. Admiral Dong-Su looked surprised. They were one of the first species to suspend negotiations with us. They have changed their minds, Commander Thek explained. Every species in the galaxy has heard about human combat capabilities, but they have also heard about human honor. You fight only when necessary and you protect those who cannot protect themselves. This makes you ideal trading partners. How so? Because everyone knows that any species that attacks human traders will face immediate and devastating retaliation. Your reputation for effective violence has made you the safest people in the galaxy to do business with. Dr. Hana Kim walked to the window and looked out at the busy traffic around the station. Ships from dozens of different species moved in carefully organized patterns, all supervised by Joint Human Vorthak Traffic Control. So we've accidentally become the galaxy's peacekeepers? Not accidentally, Commander Thek corrected. Inevitably. The galaxy needed a species that was strong enough to fight the bullies, but civilized enough not to become bullies themselves. Humans are that species. Admiral Dong-Su stood up and joined Hana at the window. What happens now? Now we do what humans do best, Hana replied. We adapt to the situation and try to make the best of it. The Galactic Council is forming a new organization, Commander Thek announced. The Protective Alliance. Human and Vorthak forces working together to stop aggression and protect peaceful species. They want Dr. Kim to serve as the chief diplomatic advisor. Me? Hana looked shocked. Why me? Because you are the human who showed the galaxy that sometimes violence is the only answer to violence. And you are also the human who used exactly the minimum force necessary to make your point. The galaxy trusts you to know when fighting is necessary and when it is not. 6 months later, Dr. Hana Kim stood in the same ceremony hall where everything had started. But this time, the hall was filled with representatives from over 100 different species. They were here to sign the Galactic Peace Accord, a treaty that established rules for interspecies conduct and created enforcement mechanisms to punish violations. Are you ready for this? Admiral Dong-Su asked as they prepared for the ceremony. As ready as anyone can be for something that has never happened before, Hana replied, echoing her words from that first contact mission. But this time she was not nervous. She had learned something important about herself and her species over the past months. Humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, or the smartest or the most advanced, but they were the species that would fight back when attacked, stand up for those who could not defend themselves, and use their strength to protect rather than conquer. The ceremony began with representatives from each species pledging to abide by the new peace accord. When it was humanity's turn, Dr. Hana Kim stepped forward to speak for her entire species. On behalf of humanity, she said, I pledge that we will use our strength to protect the innocent, our knowledge to heal rather than harm, and our courage to stand against those who prey upon the weak. We did not ask to become the galaxy's guardians, but we will not abandon that responsibility. The hall erupted in sounds that the translation devices identified as applause, approval and relief from dozens of different species. Later, as the ceremony concluded and the various delegations began to depart, Commander Thek approached Dr. Kim one final time. Do you ever regret what happened that day? He asked. When you broke my collarbone and changed everything? Dr. Hana Kim flexed her shoulder, remembering the moment that had started it all. No, she said finally. I've learned that sometimes the most important moments in history happen when ordinary people refuse to be victims. And that,